Hello and welcome to another episode of Swim Sets by the Pool. This is your podcast where you get free swim workouts and tips on how to swim better. My name is Nathan Cohen. I'm a professional triathlete. I also swam one season at community college. I swam the mile, the 4 IM, and the 500. And man, that was a lot of swimming, but boy, did I get better. And with me, as always, is Greg Harper.
I'm also a pro triathlete. My name is Greg Harper, and I swam at UC Berkeley. No 4 IM or mile for me, but I did swim 200 fly. So I got one of those tough events in
Mhm.
there. And 200 fly long course was probably my best event. I did race Michael Phelps at the Columbus Grand Prix A final back in 2012. The
It was
highlight of my life. It's just
it
been downhill every day since.
it was close though. I mean, he gave Michael Phelps a run for his money.
Yeah, he was quoted in his interview like, "Wow, Greg Harper from lane one really was nervous, especially when he was a second and behind, a second and a half behind after that first 50. He was sweating." So yeah. Um. Anyway, we usually start our episodes with a quick tip. So my quick tip today is try to scull in four different ways. So go to the pool this week, do 425s of scull. And if you don't quite know what sculling is, it's basically using your arms in a different catch position to move yourself pretty slowly for most people across the pool. Try to challenge yourself and do it in four different ways. I think there's probably 8 to 10 different ways you could do it. So yeah, I would just say go to the pool and try that. And if you need some help, you can always message us and ask what we're talking about. But go to the pool and try to scull in four different ways this week and yeah, report back.
Nice. That is a good quick tip. And I think Greg even has some videos on his Instagram of him sculling. So
I do. I have a couple. Yeah.
follow Greg on Instagram. It's linked in the show description. And yeah, he has some cool swim videos. And then I just have a bunch of like garbage reels of me just like just talking to myself at the pool. That's all I do on
Maybe
Instagram.
maybe we can put some more like swimming videos on our YouTube shorts on for this podcast too.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be
so
cool.
we could do some like drill stuff maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got this set from UCSB Swim, the swim team. We just did an episode with the tri team workout. This is the swim team workout, a little more structure and definitely a more advanced swim workout from Nate's buddy, who we had on the podcast a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, shout out to Kyle. If you haven't already, listen to that episode we had with Kyle a couple weeks back. Super nice guy. He's swam in the Olympic trials twice, and he also has dabbled in triathlon a little bit. So, yeah, super cool dude. But yeah, this is like a kind of mid distance set. So, what's mid distance in swimming? Like 200 to 400 type people,
Yeah,
or
200,
yeah,
500. Yeah.
yeah, 205. Oh, yeah,
Sprint.
college. Yeah, 500.
Yeah. And yeah, I would say like an 800 is kind of like to consider distance.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's funny because the relative times of these things are smaller compared to triathlon. Like a sprint triathlon is an hour, a distance in swimming is 15 minutes. But it's similar to track. I mean,
Yeah.
the 800 is like the mile is mid distance, and then you go above and it's long distance. So yeah, I mean to swim a 200 properly, I mean you'd be shocked about how many yards these people swim just to race for 2 minutes. Um, you know, 60, 80 kilometers a week of swimming to race for 2 minutes. And
Hmm.
you need volume to finish a 200 well. At some
100%.
point, in some point in your life, probably. So yeah, that 200 for the guys who train sprint training, 50s and 100 is like the angel of death. They are not wanting to do that 200 because they die hard and it hurts. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy. I swam a couple 200s when I was in college on relays and just a couple open 200s, and nailing it's weird because it's just 200, but you have to pace it, you know? You can't just like go as hard as you possibly can that first 50, and you that's
yeah,
where that aerobic capacity and that aerobic base comes in to be able to still swim strong at the end of that.
yeah. And you're flooded with lactate by the end, of course, but like it's still a largely aerobic event, even though it's
Hmm.
only 2 minutes. And that's it's the same for the mile and running or, even like a 4 minute power up a hill and then cycling. I mean, these things will flood lactate in your system, and you'll be burning and you'll be breathing out of your chest, but they're largely aerobic, and then the anaerobic stuff comes in kind of at the end. Um,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
sweet. Let's dive into this warm up. It's super chill. 200 choice, 200 social. That might be like a kick. 200
yeah.
kick social. And then 16 by 25s. And it's a descending interval. So, yeah, Greg, talk us through those 16 25s.
So yeah, it says four each interval. I'm assuming that means four of each, and then, or do you think it rolls through like one, two, three, four, one, two, three, four?
Yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
we're just gonna say that it's 1625. There's four on the 35, four on 30, four on 25, four on 20. There's
Yeah.
a little bit of acronyms we're not quite sure of, so we're gonna kind of say the first four on the 35 are choice. The
Hmm.
next four are no breath. The next four are choice again, and the last four will go back to no breath.
Hmm.
Which, yeah, four 25s on the 20 no breath is definitely pretty challenging. But that's kind of the theme of this workout. It's going to be a little more advanced and a little, yeah, it gives you a little more challenge, gets you out of your comfort zone a little bit, and a lot of changing of speeds and kind of swimmer stuff. It's like we'll get into it, but yeah, you got to be in control of your like effort per 50 and know your times. And this is not the workout for the watch. It's the workout for the clock and the effort.
Yeah, definitely. Leave that watch at home, guys. Leave it at home. So, yeah, you want to take us through this kind of like preset, I guess, this first part of the set?
Yeah, it's a good preset. It's 850s, a 2 IM, 850s, and another 2 IM. The 50s, the odds are kick drill, and the evens are kick swim. And it's two each of IM order. So yeah, two fly, two back, two breast, two free, um, kick drill, kick swim of each stroke. And that goes, and then you go to the 200 IM is kick drill by 25. Then you go back to the 850s again, which are drill swim. On the odds and the evens are build. So a little more swim, you're kind of getting your tempo up again. And then back to the 200 IM, which is now drill swim by 25. So yeah, it's definitely a set where you want to have the workout printed out and kind of bring it with you or have something because there's a lot to work with, and I can barely even read it without looking down and be like, wait, what's next? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a mix of kick, drill, swim, and you do more swim towards the end. You're mixing up strokes, we're mixing up paces. I mean, this is a really solid warm-up set.
Yeah, for sure. And to do 200s on the 3 minute with like kick and drill in there, you're a pretty good swimmer to be doing that.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, 200 IM kick drill by 25 on the 3 minute. Like, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's short course yards, but still.
I mean, I did a couple 200 IMs in my swim today on the 3 minute, but I was coming in at like 48, 248. So I was like, yeah, I would not be able to make that if I was just kicking on some of
Yeah.
it.
I think what you lose when you like leave the college swimming realm is like that explosiveness off the walls, the
Hmm.
turns. I mean, that's why these guys can go so fast all the time because like every wall they do is great and they have good
Yeah.
kicks underwater and they're sustaining so much speed the whole time. So like, oh yeah, like 100 IM, I'll just do a solid one and go 58. Now I do 100 IM and I go like 112. I'm like, damn, that was pretty hard. So yeah, for context, these are experienced swimmers doing this, but even if you're a triathlete and stuff, it's practicing that drill and the kick and good walls is, like we've said, it is an important skill. Although you don't have to rip every single wall, but if you can't do one, then maybe you should work on it.
Yeah. How would you change this part of the set for like a triathlete who maybe doesn't swim this much? I am.
Yeah, you can always break it up, um, like two 100 IMs.
Hmm.
Uh, I think, and yeah, you maybe just go 850s and then a 200 IM, and that's kind of the set, right? You just do one, one,
Yeah.
one structure of it, because this is 1200 and it's a lot of IM and kicking and stuff. So yeah, just 600 100 of it kind of broken up a little bit more might be reasonable. What do you think?
No, yeah, I think that sounds good. I think with these sets that we're getting every once in a while on the podcast, if you're a triathlete listening to these and you're just like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do that set, I would say challenge yourself. And even if you don't do the whole thing, like Greg said, just do like the first 850s and 2 IM. And then after a few months of like training, revisit the set and be like, I'm going to try and do 2 rounds this time, or I'm going to try and do the whole set. I mean, I tried doing Kyle's set the other week uh, with and I was trying like the women's interval too. I wasn't even doing the men's interval, and it was tough. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna come back to this and like try and make it through the whole set because yeah, these pure swimmer sets they're definitely something that you will take a lot from it if you challenge and commit yourself to it.
Yeah, 100%. And if you're doing a 50 of something that's challenging, be like, all right, I'm going to do a 25 of it and then a 25 EV, or even a half a lap. Like, I can't do breaststroke kick. I go nowhere. I literally go backwards. It's like, okay, we'll try to get through a half a lap, then just swim the rest easy freestyle. I mean, you can totally, yeah, you just swim where you're at and, yeah, try to improve little bits over time because the thing about swimming or inconsistency and anything in life, really, if you kind of shoot for where you want to be in the final result, like you'll just get discouraged because you're not there, and then you'll lose the consistency because you're not having fun. So, yeah, small goals over time, and yeah, kind of work up to the set. And like Nate said, you can revisit. I mean, these sets we have out here, you can just look back and do it again.
Awesome. Yeah. So now we're moving on to the main set. And one thing I noticed with these college swim sets, and when I think back to my college swimming days, is we did really long warm-ups to prepare us for really long hard sets. So it's like,
Lots of swimming.
yeah, lots of swimming. I mean, I was just at community college and we still swam 10 swim sessions a week. So we had a lot of double days, a lot of days where we were doing weights and swimming. So, I mean, yeah, we were very regularly doing like 6K sets. So yeah, the main set here, it's a long one, but starts off with 300 at 400 cruise, and then it says 75% or feel, and then 4 dolphin kicks off each wall. And then 2 by 50 on the 42nd at 85 to 90%, and that's freestyle. So there's kind of a pattern throughout, but yeah, let's start with that. So, yeah, what are you thinking about that, Greg?
Yeah, I kind of like how the whole thing is written. You kind of have a longer rep and then some 50s.
Yeah.
Um, and all the longer reps are kind of cruise on that base type interval. For them today, it was a 120. And the cruise are, yeah, it says 75% or feel, which is, I love that. I mean, whatever it means to you, steady, 75%. Sometimes I'll say 70 to 75% or 70, 80% if I'm writing a workout for someone, which is just like steady crew. You're not going easy, but you're not going hard. And that's kind of what all the longer reps are. And the 50s are all, yeah, a little bit more speed. So I really like it. You're kind of changing gears. And yeah, the intervals aren't too long. I mean, the longest thing you're doing is a 300, and there's only two of them. So, triathletes take notes. I mean, these are experienced swimmers, and they're not. There's a reason the coach didn't say we're going to do a 600 and then we're going to do 200s and then 300s. I mean, there's a purpose for doing 3, 2, 1 and then 50s and things like that. So, yeah, as it kind of goes through, it's a 300, 250s, 200, 450s, 100, 650s. That's the first half. And then
Hmm.
you go back up where it's 100, 250s, 200, 450s, 300, 650s.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually really
yeah,
like that progression. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's a good progression. So I guess the 50s, they start at 85 to 90% free. And the interval isn't like super fast, but it's not easy either. The next set of 50s of four is descend down to 90%. And the next six are 25 bills, 25 build, 10 meters fast, the rest easy. So there's all these little things
Hmm.
and they're all slightly different. And then it kind of repeats as you go down, 25 fast, 25 easy for the next two, and then descend again for the next 450s, and the next 650s are solid average.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I really like the flow. And like we said earlier, we're talking about it, but yeah, this is a set you need to print out and bring to the
Yeah.
pool that you're in a reference while you're doing it. But yeah, it'll get you fast, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think the reason why this kind of set would get you fast is because it's focused so much on the quality and not just like swimming a long rep, just with kind of deteriorating form over time, Because like for these college swimmers, they're swimming these 50s and they're focusing the whole time on their technique and doing those dolphin kicks off the wall and just being super efficient. So, yeah, that's how you get really good is intense focus, and it's a lot easier to focus when you chunk it up into shorter bits.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, like and something we you mentioned it says four dolphin kicks on the cruise. That's for every one of the, it goes three, two, one, and then one, two, three on the way back up. It says four dolphin kicks. So that means four dolphin kicks off every wall. I mean, these guys are getting to halfway on a lot of this. I mean, this is a
Mhm.
tough, even the cruise is tough because you're a little bit oxygen deprived, right? And you know, when they get up to halfway and they get to the other side of the pool, they're not taking more than, eight strokes or less, right? So how many breaths can you actually get in? Like two, maybe
Mhm.
three. The coaches isn't probably wanting you to like just double breathe, double breathe, double breathe, as you come up. So it's like they're doing cruise 300s. They're taking two breaths a lap. They're going to underwater to halfway. I mean, this is what elite swimming is. And um, yeah, I mean, I remember Nate said on the other, just try to breathe a little bit less. It's kind of one of those like
Mhm.
challenge yourself on maybe you're doing some easy stuff between hard stuff. Like, yeah, hold your breath a little bit more. Make that easy a little bit less easy, but you're still recovering. I think that's a powerful tool as well.
Yeah, and also you'd be surprised because when you breathe a little bit less, it allows you to focus more on what's moving you forward in the water. And that's where you start to like really make gains, I think. Back
Hmm.
to like the kids who I teach swim lessons, like the 9 and 11-year-olds, we started doing like laps where it was just like 4 breaths or 3 breaths. And now they're down to like no breathers for a single lap. And that's where their speed really started to come in because they're not focused on breathing and they're just focused on like moving themselves through the water. And that's super key. So I think yeah, the oxygen will be there when you need it. It's up there, but you can just keep your head down a little bit more and you'd be surprised. You'll get faster.
Yeah. We used to do this set. And when I was coaching like rec swimming, this is back when I was in college, it was a set where you would do a 25, like no breath. And on the next one, you would kick on the wall with your head down for 5 seconds and then do a 25 no breath right into it without breathing. So the first one, everyone's like, well, 25 no, that's kind of hard. And then they do 5 seconds to kick into 25 no breath and then 10. And then you slowly, these guys are doing 30 to 40 seconds of kick into a 25 no breath. I mean, these are high school kids who swim rec. And at the beginning of the set, they're like, I'm never going to make it. And all of a sudden, they're like, wow, I just kicked for 30 seconds on the wall without breathing. And then I did a 25 no breath. And it's just like, they just surprise themselves so much. So once you can, like, oh, I just did a 25 no breath, it's like, yeah, well, you can probably do 25 in a flip turn or 25
Hmm.
and a half a lap. And all of a sudden, you're like, dang, I did a whole 75 without breathing. It just takes a little bit of that mindset. And yeah, you just lose a couple extra brain cells. No big deal.
Yeah. And yeah. So I would definitely recommend looking at this set. We're gonna type it up in the show notes, printing it off, trying it out, and just like reading it a little bit, and it's okay if you take a little bit extra rest, like in between the things to look at it and make sure you're like doing it right, because it's not all about like hitting this tight interval and like just having as little rest as possible. You want to be able to like focus on what you're doing. So if you need to take a little bit extra after like the 50s or whatever and make sure you're doing the right cues, that's super important. But yeah, so after this main set, there's even more. Greg's favorite 6x150s.
Yeah. No, and before we move on, I
Yeah.
think that's really good.
Hmm.
Like take a halfway break, like reset, think about what you're going to do next. Or, if it's you're new to just do the first half, like we
Yeah.
said, and build up to it. So,
Hmm.
yeah, totally. Reset when you need and make sure you know what you're doing. Like have an idea of where the set's going as you go. And then you kind of
Hmm.
check as reminders. So that's good. But yeah, last set, 6 150s with fins, three dolphin kicks on kind of a base interval. The odds are free, non-free, free by 50. The evens are non-free, free, non-free. So yeah, a little more non-free on the evens, a little more free on the odds, and yeah, pretty standard. I mean, sets like this, 75s or 150s, where you're kind of alternating between two, but the odds and evens are different. Pretty classic swim set. And yeah, I mean, they're just getting a nice look. And this is three dolphin kicks with fins too. I mean, it's another kind of breath control type set and free and non-free. And the kids who are feeling good that day, they're going hard on that.
Hmm.
I bet, like, oh, I had a good set. Like, well, you might as well just keep rolling and then warm down. So
Hmm.
yeah, I kind of like it. And you feel fast. You practice something with fins at the end, so you can feel fast at the end of practice when you're a little bit more fatigued. So I think that's cool too.
Yeah, and notice too that there isn't a mention of fins until the end of the swim workout. So they're not diving in with fins. They're not like doing the main set with fins. They're swimming quality and then, yeah, putting the fins on at the end, to swim even more quality at the
Yeah.
end because it keeps their body in that position. Because even these people, as elite level swimmers as they are, their form will still deteriorate over time. So this just helps them get that little bit better body position even when they're fatigued.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that's how gear should be used for a lot of it. Like they put on fins to keep them in the water a little bit longer, do a little bit more. Or maybe you go paddles. I do 6 150s pull at the end of largely most of my workouts because I'm like, oh, I'll get that 1,000 pull at the end. I'm a little tired. I know it's easy. The buoy's holding me up. And then boom, done. Um, yeah, so I think that's a really great point that you brought up. Use the gear wisely and strategically. And if you don't know why you're putting it on, also swimming with fins and then taking them off sucks. Like you feel so slow. I mean, even paddles too. So that's why I don't really like doing those things before. Because when you warm down, you just warm down. You're like, okay, it's over. And then you get out. You don't have to like swim again without fins. Like, oh man, I was going so much faster before.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's it's definitely something that I think a lot of triathletes out there could use gear less and just focus on that feel for the water. And it's sets like this where you have cues for every single part of the set to focus on that make it a little bit easier. So maybe, I mean, I had a hot take a little while ago about your triathlon coach. If they can't swim under a minute for 100 free, maybe they're not the right one to be riding your swim workouts. Yeah, because some triathlon coaches, they'll just tell you to do 4 by a K. And
yeah,
that is not what these high level swimmers are doing to get fast. They're not doing 4 by a K.
definitely. And they use more gear in college than they did growing up. I mean, triathletes are all about like they're putting on paddles like all the time. It's like I don't even remember using paddles growing up.
Hmm.
Like you maybe in high school you start using it, and you get to college you start using it, but it's like when you put on gear, there's purpose. It's not to get through it. You're like, oh, I'm putting on fins. Okay, my legs are gonna start hurting because we're ripping walls or we're doing dolphin kicks. Oh, I'm putting on paddles. I'm swimming pretty fast. Like moderate effort for longer or faster, stronger stuff. Like easy paddles, like yeah, you could stretch out, but it's like you're not building strength swimming easy with paddles. You're just not, yeah, you're just making it easy for yourself for no reason really. So yeah, gear has a purpose, for sure.
Yeah.
Except
And
watches. Watches don't have a
set
purpose.
watches. Okay. So yeah, and then they just warm down with 650s. I mean, I think we're just keeping this set as is. It's pretty solid.
I mean, someone who's a college swim coach wrote it for a good program. So, but yeah, if you're a triathlete, like we said,
Half it.
you can change, and I think it's important to be kind of adaptable as a triathlete too. If you're your coach writing workouts and you really don't like parts of it, to freaking change it. It's okay. Like most pro triathletes out there who get swim workouts written for them, they're like, yeah, I do like most of it some of the time, right? I mean, you work through it. So find what works for you, and you don't have to follow everything to a T, as they say.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, so that's all we have for this one. I've got a little take to close us out with, and it is if you are serious about your swimming, and you're traveling to a race, maybe it's age group nationals, maybe it's that Ironman 70.3 you've been training for, whatever it is. Even if you're a college swimmer and you're going on that family vacation over winter break and you're not researching pools in the area to swim at to keep that swimming going, you just don't care as much as you could.
As much
And
as you think you do, right?
as much as you think you do, you know? Because like if you're putting all that effort to like go to this big race or to like PB your time in college or something like that, and you're not like researching pools, to go to in a new city that you're not used to, I mean, I think you're leaving something on the table. And
100%. Dude, the day before trips, I'm literally calling pools in the area. Be like,
mhm,
hey, I look online. This is your hours. Are these correct? Can I just waltz in? Do I have to be a resident? Like, you gotta do, yeah, you gotta do your homework. And frequency is so important in the pool. So,
100%.
even if you're like on vacation, like just find a pool and swim 1,000 and do 425s fast every day. And then that'll just put you in such a better position
Hmm.
than if you took the time off.
So yeah, that's my take to leave
Love
you
it.
guys with. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We post all our videos and a bunch of shorts on YouTube. Follow Greg on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. All that stuff is in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for listening, being a part of Swim Sets by the Pool, and I hope you guys are swimming better. Thanks. See ya.
Cheers. Later.